Hello students. In today's lecture we will be discussing about the various types of foundations, and this actually is the fourth module of geotechnical engineering 2. So moving on to the syllabus, this is the syllabus. So what are the types of foundations we are going to deal with? Combined footings, and then raft foundations, then a special kind of raft foundation which is called floating foundations. Then we go to moderately deep foundations such as caissons or well foundations. And now there is another foundation called deep foundation or the pile foundation, which will be covered in a separate module, that is the fifth module. So moving on to the types of foundation, how will you classify the foundation into shallow foundation, moderately deep foundation, and deep foundations? So if you have the depth of footing df and the width of footing b, then if df by b is less than or equal to 1, then you call such a foundation as shallow foundation. That means depth is very small compared to the width of the footing. But if this df by b is considerably high, or it is greater than 15, in such a case it is called a deep foundation, for example a pile foundation. But if it is falling in the range of 1 to 15, then it is a moderately deep foundation, for example a well foundation or a caisson, etc. So now we will be dealing more on to these shallow foundations. Already we have discussed about the bearing capacity for shallow foundations. Now we will see the various types of shallow foundations and the selection, how you select a particular foundation. So just a brief overview of what are the different types of shallow foundations. So first of all, this is the strip footing, usually used for construction of walls. That means if you are the soil is reasonably good, and if for normal constructions we usually go for this strip footings. And then for construction of some warehouses and all, we can go for isolated footings. So these are isolated footings. You can see here various types of isolated footings. This is kind of a stepped footing. Any way you can construct it. Another type is a strap footing. That means you are combining two different types of footings together, so it is called a strap footing. And then this is a similar case of combined footing. Combined footing and strap footing are almost similar. I will explain in detail what it is and in which situation you will use it. And then finally comes the mat foundation. That means on a huge mat there are small columns or pedestals. So moving into detail, so what is a strap footing? So it is usually constructed for normal construction, small buildings and all, we go for strap footings. And obviously when the soil is reasonably good, that means the bearing capacity is considerably higher, and it is not that much a compressible kind of soil, then definitely we can go for the continuous footing or the strap footing. So this is a footing base and this will be the wall. So normally we construct the houses and all, you know that we give a rubble masonry, and on top of that we give a belt of concrete, and then on top of that we construct the wall. So it is the similar case. It's just a example of strip footing. Now next is isolated footings. Mostly isolated footings we see for the construction of warehouses and all. You might have seen that there are individual footings and you have a pedestal, and on top of that you construct the steel columns and all for huge warehouses. So that is example of isolated footings. So the foundation base can be any shape. It can be a square, it can be rectangular, circular, it can be of any shape or any design you can adopt for the isolated footings. But construction of isolated footing is viable only if the soil is quite strong. It is not that much compressible and it have good ability to take the load. And only in that case you can go for isolated footings. If the soil is very compressible and it is very soft soil, in such cases you can't go for compressible footing. Isolated footing. Next is a combined footing. So in which all cases you will combine the isolated footings. So first is whenever there is some space restrictions. That means if you are constructing foundations, and if some of your footings are moving towards the boundary and you won't get the complete footing, that means because of that you have the space constraint. So what will you do is you combine that particular footing. That means whichever footing is moving to the boundary and you have space restrictions, these footings are combined to the very adjacent footing as a combined footing. So in that case both the pedestal will have a single footing base. That means these are the pedestals of a footing and this will be having a single common base. You will just join this, you will just extend this to this footing. So that is a combined footing. There is one condition where we adopt combined footing. And in another condition is that if these two footings are very close and such that the individual bases overlap, then also you can go for combined footing. So these are the situations where we go for combined footing. Now you can opt for two types of combined footings. That is, one is a rectangular footing and another is a trapezoidal footing. So if you have a load here, the load coming from the superstructure, there are two pedestals, Q1 and Q2 are the load coming. This will be the total load Q. So you go for a rectangular footing when this point of action of this Q, that means this X bar, is equal to half the length. Then you can go for rectangular footing. But if this X bar is less than half the length of the footing base, then you will go for a trapezoidal footing, provided this Q1 is greater than or equal to Q2. While finding this X bar, the distance of X bar is calculated from this point, from Q1. So this is the situation. So just elaborating the condition, you can see here for rectangular combined footing, this is the total load acting at the center, this is the CG of the Q, and this is the condition for rectangular footing where X bar is L by 2. This is very important. And this is the case for a trapezoidal footing where X bar is less than L by 2. So if the CG varies, so based on that you have to adopt the apt combined footing, whether rectangular or a trapezoidal. So another type of footing is a strap footing or a cantilever footing. So such kinds of footings are usually provided whenever the column spacing, if the footings are at a very large spacing, then you cannot provide a combined footing, but you have to integrate the two foundations, two footings, because maybe because of differential settlement, you have already studied in the previous module, there are chances of differential settlement in highly compressible soils. So definitely these foundations will settle in at different depths, then definitely it will cause damage to the building. So in such cases what we do is, when the columns are separated at very large distances, then we just combine the two columns with the help of a strap beam or a grade beam. So this is a beam which is combining these two footings. So such kind of a footing is called a strap footing. That means footings which are combined with the help of a strap beam is called a strap footing. So next is a raft or mat foundation. So we have discussed about isolated footing. That means on a single footing base you have a pedestal. Then if we have discussed various conditions where we have to use a combined footing or a strap footing. And now when will you use a raft or mat foundation? So first of all, when the soil properties vary and throughout the that means throughout the structure of the building, and also you have highly compressible soil, that means which can lead to differential settlement of the building. In such cases, you can't provide individual footings. So in such cases, even combined footing won't work. So what you do is you keep a single footing base and you have all the pedestals on that single footing base. That means you have a concrete slab, on top of that you have the columns which will take the entire loads of the buildings. So such a construction is called a raft or a mat foundation. So in that, what are the two types of mat foundations? So there are a single normal mat foundation is there, which is just called as a mat foundation, and then there is another type of foundation called a ribbed mat. The difference only is that in the ribbed mat you have grids above or below the slab, which will also have the reinforcement, which will act as a reinforcement to this pedestal. It will keep all the pedestals together just for an extra safety. So why we are providing ribs, or in which cases you need not have a rib or a beam below or above that flat slab. So going towards a straightforward case, if you have uniform spacing of the columns and the soil is not that compressible, soil is reasonably good soil, it is not that cohesive kind of soil, then you can have a normal flat plate from a raft foundation. That means we have a flat concrete slab, like you see here in the figure. You have a flat slab, and on that you can have equally spaced columns. You can see here columns are equally spaced. Now if you are having unequal column loads, and again the spacing is different, you have a large spacing and also you are constructing in a very weak soil, then you cannot just provide this flat slab along with these pedestals. In that case, just for an additional strength, you will have to provide these ribs or these beams which will connect the columns. Either above or below you can provide such kinds of beams. Usually it is a continuous, it will be constructed such that it is monolithic with these columns. So these types of constructions, if you go to any construction sites of any apartments, flats and or housing projects, you can observe this. So I recommend you go and visit such sites and see how a mat foundation is constructed. So usually mat foundation is provided when, even if the soil is too compressible, if we for tall structures we can't go for mat foundation, but reasonably medium kind of structures like a 6-story or 7-story building, we can go for mat foundation. The advantage of providing a mat foundation is that this will prevent the differential settlement. You can see here you are having a flat concrete slab on which you are having the columns, and the entire load of the building is taken by this flat slab. That means either if the building is, if at all it settles due to the highly compressible soil, then the entire mat is going to settle. It won't cause the building to undergo a differential settlement. Settlement is not a problem. There is no issue that you are, it is not that you construct a building and it won't settle, and the settlement is like 0 mm. You have a permissible range of settlement like 50 mm. It is IS codes have given the permissible settlements for various kinds of foundations. So a building can settle, but we avoid differential settlement if we have mat foundations. So next is just a better view of this. You can see how these beams join the columns. You can see these are the ribs. So this is the ribbed mat foundation and this is the plain mat foundation. So this is the construction procedure, how the ribbed mat foundation is constructed. You can see here the beams connecting the columns, and another case is a flat. You can see there is no beam between the columns. This is a flat slab. On top of that you have the pedestal, and this is a ribbed beam along with the slab. So the two cases. Next is the conventional design procedure, how you can design a raft foundation. So if you have column loads on the raft foundations, these are the columns. You have a raft, the building loads are coming onto these columns, and what you do is you find the total load, and then from that you find you must have the CG of the loads. You have to find the CG of the load, you find the total loads, all the load, add all the loads, and find the contact pressure distribution. Then for that contact pressure distribution for that particular raft, you can design based on, you draw the shear force diagram and the bending moment diagram, and you can design the apt design for that raft foundation. You need not go into the depth, just understand the procedure, how it is designed. But if the CG does not match with that means the CG of loads do not match with the CG of the footing, that means there are eccentricities. In that case, you have to use this equation to find the pressure due to this mat foundation, that is Q is equal to Q by A plus or minus mx by zx plus or minus my by zy. That means I will elaborate this. This is the section modulus along x direction, section modulus along y direction, and this is the moment along the x direction and the y direction. Now this is just a procedure of finding the pressure when there is you have eccentricity. So first of all, you find the total load. So if there are, this is just the front view of this raft, there are other loads behind. So which all loads are coming on that raft, you add all the loads. So this Q is QT, that means the total load, all the loads coming on the mat. You add all the loads coming on the mat, you find the total area of the mat, you have the spacing of these columns, you have the width of distance between two columns, or you may have the entire length and breadth of this raft. So find the total area from that. If L by B is L and B are given, then it is L into B is the area of the raft. You have the total load, you have the area, and you have XY coordinates which is passing through the centroid of the area of the mat. So from that you can, and again you have the, if XY coordinate is given, then you can find the eccentricities for this resultant force, this Q, sigma Q, you can find the eccentricities, and also you can find the moment of inertia of the mat with respect to the x direction and the y direction. So if you have all these parameters, from that you can find the Q max and the Q minimum, and which that means you have the pressure acting due to this raft foundation, the maximum as well as the minimum pressure, and you plot it like this. Here you have the Q max and this is the Q minimum. So based on this pressure diagrams, you can design for this particular pressure, you can design the mat foundation. So this is a general procedure. I am just giving an overall idea of how the mat foundation is designed. Now let us move on to a special type of foundation, which is called a floating foundation. So this is a special case in a raft foundation. So what is a floating foundation? Before that, let us see some things which we have already studied in previous module. You already know that this is the gross load coming onto the soil. Gross load is actually the load Q plus sulfate. Sulfate means it is the sulfate of the concrete as well as the sulfate of the soil. Already we know that sulfate, how it is negligible. You move to the previous videos, you can know that sulfate, how it got neglected. So we consider only Q as the capital Q as the gross load, that is all the load coming onto the foundation from the structure. Now we know that this Q by A, or this pressure, is equal to the gross pressure, that means QG. That means the gross pressure is this Q by A, which is actually the net pressure plus the surcharge due to the soil. So what is the surcharge? Already we have studied. The surcharge is actually the weight of the soil into the depth of the footing. Now, so this is the gross pressure, that is gross pressure is net pressure plus surcharge, and this gross pressure must be less than the safe pressure. So what is the safe pressure? It is gross pressure divided by a factor of safety. So now let us see if the net bearing gross pressure. So from this expression you have the net gross pressure as Qg minus gamma dF, or Q by A minus gamma dF, which must be less than the net allowable pressure. So just concentrate on this expression, that is entire load coming onto that raft divided by the area of the raft minus the surcharge is the net gross bearing pressure. So what will happen if this gamma dF is equal to the stress, or the stress due to the load coming onto the raft? What will, or the pressure on the acting on the raft? If gamma dF is equal to Q by A, then this net gross pressure becomes 0. That means there is no pressure acting on the soil. So how can you do it? How can you reduce this term? How can you negate this term? That means you must have a gamma dF equal to Q by A. That means you remove the maximum soil here such that it is occupied by the basement of the raft foundations. In such case, this net bearing pressure becomes 0. So such a foundation where you remove the soil in such a way that the gross pressure acting on the soil due to the footing is equal to the surcharge due to that soil, such a case is called a floating foundation. So you might have seen the foundations of Lulu Mall and all. You have 3 layers of basement, 3 levels of basements, and also for huge residential projects also there are parking lots where you have 2-3 levels of basement. Then you have the superstructure. So this is actually a technique to reduce the net gross bearing pressure. So these are all the examples of floating foundations. The main idea is to reduce the net bearing pressure so that you can reduce the settlement. If the net bearing pressure is less, then that much load the soil is safe, because no pressure is literally acting on the soil. Okay, so let us see it in detail. So if Q by A is equal to gamma dF, we know that net bearing pressure is 0. So that means the bearing pressure is 0. That means settlement, the building will not settle. Literally, theoretically, the building will not settle. The settlement of building will be 0. So the superimposed building load is fully compensated by the relief of load through excavation, such that Q by A is equal to gamma into dF. And if you are excavating the soil but you are not getting that gamma dF equal to Q by A, then also it is called a floating foundation, but you call it as partially floating foundation because the net bearing pressure is actually, it is not 0. So in that case you call it a partially floating foundation. So for partially floating foundation, this is the factor of safety, ultimate bearing pressure by net bearing pressure. Ultimate bearing pressure, you know, Q NU divided by QA minus gamma, Q by A minus gamma dF. So this floating foundation is a special case of raft foundation. Again I will explain. That means just see this expression, net bearing pressure, which is the pressure due to the loads coming onto the raft minus the surcharge load of the soil, and this surcharge load of the soil must be equal to this pressure coming onto the raft. And how will you make this equal? That means the surcharge load you are neglecting from the net bearing pressure, then only you will get the net bearing pressure, Q by A minus gamma dF. This we got from this expression, Qg is equal to Qn plus gamma dF. So to have this term higher, that means you have to remove the soil to a greater depth, then only this term will increase and it will match the Q by A such that you have net bearing pressure of 0. So here also you can see here we have 3 levels of basement, so that much soil is removed to have a floating foundation. So that's all. We have now we have studied various types of foundations and the situations where we are using these kinds of foundations. And now in the next lecture we will discuss some problems, and also you have the moderately deep foundations like the well foundation or the caissons. Okay, so that's all for today's lecture. Thank you.